Okay, there are still people signing on, but it is the top of the hour, so we do want to go ahead and get started. As I mentioned, you guys were in webinar mode. We cannot see or hear you. If you have a question, please go into the chat, or you can raise your hand, and then there's also a question and answer. So that if you've attended a Zoom presentation before, it's very similar to that. So I'm really excited to join you guys today. We're going to be interviewing Lex Gillette, and those of you that have been following Lex on his LinkedIn or our LinkedIn, or also we've been sending out some advertisement. We're really, really thrilled to have this interview today. Little bit of background, how I met Lex is my husband was in California doing a race, and during that race, Lex was a guest speaker there. It was actually at Angel Stadium in California, and he was up on the podium and had such an incredible message. I went, oh my gosh, I've got to meet this guy. This is just too incredible. And I was very fortunate after the event to go by a booth that he was at, speak to him. And I was even more blown away than I was when I heard him speak on this stage, because he's just so personable. And then when he said that he had won a silver medal and asked me if I wanted to see the silver medal, and he let me not only see it, but touch it. Oh man, that was it. I was gone, over the moon. So I was very, very excited to hear at that point that he was going to Tokyo. He was going to be competing in the Paralympics. And so I was rooting him on, which just he's followed by so many people, and a lot of people were rooting him on. Through that, we've been able to meet another time. And I just very, very honored to have Lex here today. So Lex, welcome. And thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kimberly. I'm really glad to be here.
Well, welcome. Well, today, those of you that might be joining us might have very limited or no vision. So I have two pictures up of Lex. One, he's got his arms folded, and yes, you can see his muscles, and he's got his USA shirt on. And the other one, he's actually doing the long jump, and he'll be talking more about that. But this was taken at the Tokyo Olympics. So Lex, I want to start out. We talked a little bit about how I met you, but just through talking to you a little bit, I'd like to talk about just your story. How did you lose your vision? When did your vision start changing? And kind of just walk us through a little bit of the story.
Yep. So everyone, I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I was born with sight, so I could see up until I was 7, 8 years old. And it was basically me going home one day, went through my normal routine that night. I started noticing that I was losing my sight. So things were starting to look blurry and look faint. We go to the doctor, and an examination revealed that I needed to have an emergency operation to fix retina detachments. And that led to a string of 10 operations that I had that 1 year alone. And after the last one, doctor said that there wasn't anything else they would be able to do to help my sight, and they said that I would most likely become blind. And from that point forward, it was go home, go through your normal routine. You wake up the next morning. Each day you see a little less than what you do the day before, until one day you wake up and you can't see anything.
Wow. So that was probably a little bit of a shock to your system and your family. And I know from talking with you, but also listening to some of your podcasts and things, your mother also has a visual impairment.
Yeah, she has glaucoma. So she deals with that, although she still has usable sight. Yeah, she does have glaucoma.
Okay. So kind of fast forward us. How old were you again when all of this happened?
I was 8 years old.
You were 8. Okay. So at 8 years old, did you know you wanted to go to the Paralympics? Or like, what happened, sir? What happened?
Never. I didn't even know about it at that time. I think at 8, 9 years old, I was just literally trying to transition from once being able to see and then now not being able to see. So it was me learning how to read Braille, learning how to use a cane so I could navigate, learning how to just use all of my other skills and senses that I had. And I think even beyond that, just from a social standpoint, trying to get comfortable in my own skin and being able to, you know, just fend for myself, speak for myself, to be open about what it was that I could and could not see. And yeah, I mean, it was a lot going on at that particular time. And it wasn't until I was in high school, that's when I found out about track and field and Paralympic sport.
Okay. So that's good to hear. So there was some adjustment time, and I know just from talking to you how important your family is to you, and I know you've got a really supportive family. It was great the first time that I was able to meet up with Lex and we were able to have dinner one night. His grandma called right when we got together in the car, and it was just so cute to hear the correspondence back and forth. So I know how important support systems are to you. But it took you a little bit of time to get adjusted, and that makes sense. And I'm glad you took the time to do that.
Yeah, no, totally. And family has been huge. And I think that at a time where obviously nowadays we hear the words like accessibility and equality and equity and inclusion and diversity. And I think that at a time when I was really young, we weren't necessarily using those words per se, but my family, my grandmother, my mom especially, were doing a lot of things to ensure that I did have accommodations, and they wanted to make sure that things were accessible. And like take my grandmother, for example, she has a really large backyard. And so I would go out to the backyard and I would do flips and cartwheels and things like that. And so what she would do is she had this garden hose that was connected to the side of the house. And so what she would do is she would take that garden hose and she would extend it into the backyard. And so when I would be outside playing, I always knew that if I find the garden hose and walk along the hose back toward the house, it was going to help get me to the back porch, and I'll be able to walk up the stairs and go into my grandma's house. And so they were just on a whole nother level in terms of their thinking. And fortunately, you know, they definitely were huge advocates for me and helped me to see what was truly possible.
That's amazing. I mean, you think of things and a garden hose, you guys, just something, an everyday item, and how ingenious that your grandma just thought out of the box and went, wow, he's going to be able to know this. This is like a boundary line to keep him safe, but yet he can be out here with all the other kiddos and he can be having fun. And he doesn't have to sit in the house and go, oh, well, I can't see, I can't go in the backyard. I mean, you just, wow, how incredible. So let's fast forward a little bit then. You told me a little bit about your coach. So you went on, you know, you did through your education, and then you got into high school, and then what happened there?
We had a fitness test that all of the kids had to participate in. One of the activities was standing long jump. You stand in one spot, you jump forward as far as you can. I just so happened to be one of the best jumpers in the entire school. From there, it was my teacher of the visually impaired, Mr. Whitmer, who told me about the Paralympics. And he told me about being able to travel the world and break records and win medals. And so he showed me everything about the long jump. So he showed me that there is a stretch of track, and that's where you run. And then there's a takeoff board that's in the ground. That's where you jump from. And then there's a sand pit, and that is where you'll land when you jump. And you know, he showed me everything, and he was really patient and invested a lot of time and energy into me and my eventual career. So that was a special time in life.
Wow. So you went from not knowing anything about it to you having a fitness test to you exceeding. So it was something, it was a natural gift, and you jumped, and you know, that's pretty cool. So like, explain that to me though, because you are walking out or going across the field and then you run, how do you know where to line up? How do you know where to go? How do you know when to jump?
Yeah, you have a guide. So it's someone who is physically walking you to the start mark, and then they'll go to the area where they'll be standing. They will then begin to clap and yell. So you have an idea of which direction to run. And for long jumpers, whether you can see or not, everyone knows how many strides that it takes to get from the start mark to the takeoff board. So I know that it takes me 16 strides to cover about 115 feet. I'm running as fast as I can to the sound of my voices, clapping hands, and at the right step, at the 16th step, then I jump, soar through the air, and land in the sand. We practice Monday through Friday, so you build muscle memory. And at this point, I don't even think I really count those steps in my head anymore. I think it's just a matter of, okay, I know when to jump, and it's all based on the fact that it's muscle memory now. It just happens, bam, bam, bam.
Wow, that is absolutely incredible. So you talk about your guide a little bit. You've told me a little bit about your guide. You've had the same guide for quite a while. Obviously, there has to be a lot of trust. Yes. That'll kind of lead into the next story about your book called Fly. And you're basically flying through the air, and you are just trusting that someone's telling you, to jump and when to go, and boom. How does that work? And how did you find the right guide? Have you had several guides, and how does that work?
Yeah, I've had, in my time of competing, I've had 3 guides. Mr. Whitmer, who was my teacher in high school, he was the first one. And I had another gentleman, his name is Jerome, and we worked together for about 3 years or so. And then Wesley and I, my current guide, we've been working together for 14 years.
Wow.
So it's been a nice bit of time. But yeah, you certainly want, when it comes to athlete and guide, you don't want to have a lot of turnover in that arena, because you build this relationship with this person and you have a lot of trust in them. You're learning to communicate with each other in a unique and special way, especially when you're in front of 80,000+ people inside of the stadium, and it's hard for you to hear. You have to really develop the type of relationship where you're able to go into any type of environment and still be productive and successful. So that's just all predicated upon a lot of the things that we do within training. So we're training Monday through Friday, and depending on what day it is, that dictates how many hours we'll train. So say on a Monday, I might be out there for 4 hours, and then on Tuesday I might be out there for 3 hours, and then Wednesday is the midweek, the hump day. So we have more of like an active recovery type day where we're only out there for about an hour, and then Thursday we pick it back up again to finish out the week, Thursday and Friday. So when you put in that much amount of work together, it makes it very seamless when you step into competition. So yeah, the Wesley, my guide, he's a really huge piece to the success, and I'm not able to do anything without him.
That's amazing. So I've had an opportunity to talk to you a lot more, and I know obviously you've done more than one Paralympics. So let's talk a little bit about that. How many have you done? I know you've gotten quite a few silver medals. Let's kind of lead into that a little bit.
Yeah, I've been to the Paralympics 5 times. Fortunately, I was one of the, at this point in time, the awareness has grown a lot. It still can definitely grow a lot within the United States. But the point that I'm really trying to make is that I'm one of the fortunate ones who learned about the Paralympics at an early age. Sometimes people don't hear about the Paralympics until they're well into their 20s or 30s or even later than that. And so for me to have someone in high school who knew about it, and I was able to learn about the Paralympics at 14, 15 years old, then I was able to start that journey a lot sooner than most people. So I went to my first Paralympics fresh out of high school in 2004, and I kind of been doing it since then. So yeah, I've been to Athens, Beijing, London, Rio, and most recently Tokyo.
Okay. Wow. So you're very fortunate then. You've had an opportunity to compete many, many times. We're going to, towards the end, talk about 2024 because you are going for the gold, and we'll talk about that. So, you know what I think is so incredible, not just you as a person, but you're so well-rounded. Not only are you an amazing athlete, you're a very kind and generous person, but through this whole process, you've developed, you kind of helped me understand that a brand, you developed a brand for yourself, and your tagline, and I heard you say this, there was no need for sight when you have a vision, by Lex Gillette. And I've got a picture up on this second slide of you again, incredibly jumping through the air. And I've got your quote off to the side. So how did that happen? How did you gain that insight? And how much time did that take you to develop such an incredible vision?
Yes. So when I had graduated from college, I was like a lot of college students are at times where you're just trying to figure out what that next move is going to be. And I was like, oh, I got to figure out what I can do to kind of help set myself up for more success outside of just purely competing. And so I told myself that I wanted to venture into this world of like partnerships and sponsors and being able to work with different brands and companies. So I came up with, for the longest, I used to say no need for vision when you have a vision, given the fact that the word vision is ambiguous. And but then finally somebody had told me, you know what, you should just change the first vision to sight. And so no need for sight when you have a vision. No need for sight when you have a vision. I was like, you know what, I kind of like that, and that is where I landed. And I think that most people, when they see that, they're like, oh, okay, well, this makes sense. He's blind. No need for sight when you have a vision. But when I had created it, it was meant to impact the lives of everyone, because I think that ultimately, at the end of the day, it isn't our eyes that determine our success. It is our ability to see a vision and to do everything in our power to bring it into fruition. And so it just, it stuck. It fit. It felt like it was me, and it also tapped into the fact that my mom has a visual impairment. And one thing that I don't really mention much either is Mr. Whitmer, my teacher, who introduced me to Paralympics. He's also visually impaired. And so when you have two amazing people who help to really establish this foundation for you, it it just really made that statement resonate that much more.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. And no, I didn't know that. That's a new Lex Gillette fun fact. I did not know that. So that's really, really incredible. So, I know there's a lot of people on today. Some of them might be low vision. Some of them might have no vision. Some of them might be in a wheelchair. Some of them might just have struggles in lives, or they might deal with depression, or there's so many things we all deal with. What's some words of encouragement you would give? I know I've heard you talk. I've heard your motivation. You're phenomenal. What you go out and share, because you're living the message, but you just have such a unique way of putting that message out there. So what might be some words of encouragement you want to share today?
I think that, so what really helped me to bridge the gap, what really helped me to bridge the gap was learning that everything that has been created and everything that will be created, it always starts with a vision. When you see it within yourself and within others, you're able to see things beyond the horizon. And so once I came to that realization, I tell myself that not having sight isn't as bad as I might think it is. It's really about connecting with something that you see that's bigger than yourself. And so we all have that ability, whether you can see or not, whether you can walk or not, you know, it really doesn't matter as long as you have that vision, and then understanding that you can't do it alone. So you're going to need some help from other people. And there's amazing people out there with unique special skill sets that you can collaborate with, and you can totally bring whatever it is that you see into the future. You can bring that into fruition. So you know, understanding that you have what it takes internally to make some awesome things happen, that's crucial to success.
Incredible. It's so true. It's absolutely true. You know, if we really reach out, there's a lot of gifted people out there that want to be able to share their blessings in life, and we get blessed by helping others. And I really, you know, I've seen such incredible things. Getting ready for this, I've started stalking you. I've like been following you on Facebook and LinkedIn and watching your videos. And I've seen things like there's a Lex Gillette Day. There's, you know, now you were just on the cover of a magazine. So kind of talk about, how do you deal with your busy schedule? How do you deal with some of that fame and notoriety? You know, you went from the Olympics, which I can't even imagine getting back from the Paralympics. I would think you'd be so exhausted, and you've got all these people that want to interview you and talk to you, and how'd you do it? And oh my goodness, congratulations. And how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's about what we were just talking about, when you have awesome people who are in your corner and who help you out. And I have so many people who help me. There's no way I would be able to keep up with any of this stuff on my own, because it does get pretty hectic at times. But yeah, have an amazing team of individuals that help me, and that allows me to be able to focus on the things that I really enjoy, whether that's competing and training, or speaking, or just, you know, hanging out and about, just having a good time.
That's great. This next slide is Lex competing in the 2020 Paralympics in Tokyo. So you mentioned you've been at 5. So let's talk about Tokyo. First of all, what was your favorite thing about competing there? And then out of all the places that you've competed, and you've traveled a lot, what are some of your favorite places?
Let's see. Favorite part of competing in Tokyo. Man, just being there, you know, like just literally walking inside of the stadium and feeling the surface under your feet. And so for everyone who's listening right now, that the track is really, it's an amazing surface. It's like this very firm, rubberized type of surface where you're wearing your track and field shoes, which are spikes. So they're able to grip that surface, and you're able to pick up a lot of speed. And that's a feeling that you can't really duplicate. That competition venue it's the best of the best. And it's going to be hard pressed for you to find stadiums of that magnitude, surfaces that allow you to go that fast. So that portion of competition is always pretty cool, because you're just like, oh man, when you couple being able to put those shoes on and to drive those spikes into the ground, when you couple that with the adrenaline and the excitement that's building inside of you, that you have within your inner being, you're able to do some pretty fantastic things. So I would just say, yeah, being inside, just purely being there and taking in the moment and really enjoying the competition and everything that it has to offer from a facility standpoint. Favorite places? Oh, my favorite place that I've ever visited is Barcelona, Spain. We had a competition out there. Competition was amazing. It was in the latter part of May, so the weather was incredible. There's a lot of touristy things to do in Barcelona. Nightlife is cool. People are nice. Transportation is easy to use. It's a fantastic place. So that's definitely at the top of my list of favorite places. I also like Australia. Australia is really nice. I'm pretty sure, that I probably would have put Tokyo on the top of my list, but given the pandemic, we weren't able to get out there and explore the city. And that's a part of the Paralympic experience. When you go to the games and you go to these new and interesting cities around the world, a part of the experience is being able to go into the city to learn about the culture, the food, to all of those types of things. So that was one of the pieces of this year's games that we weren't able to really tap into. So that'll just give me reason to go back to Tokyo. But yeah, Barcelona is amazing. Sydney is awesome. New Zealand is a great place as well. Greece is that'll always have a special place in my heart because that was my first Paralympics in Athens. That's a phenomenal place. So I mean, there's a lot of countries out there.
Was it really a challenge competing for 2020 because you didn't have the big crowd? Your family couldn't be there, your entire support system. I know you can talk a little bit about that. You know, your mom, you had support teams all over the world rooting you on, but it's different when they're not physically there. And like you said, there's not 80,000 people in the stands. So how was that?
It was definitely interesting. It kind of pushed in the mind of being at I remember my high school track meets, and we had people out there, but there weren't many people out there for high school meets unless you had like really, really big competitions like the conference meet, things like that. So being inside of the stadium and there not being many people inside of it was definitely a little awkward and interesting, but it kind of felt like, again, like a high school meet, or it just felt like practice in a lot of ways. So that was definitely new and interesting. But at the end of the day, you still got to go out there and compete and do your absolute best. So that's what we were focused on doing. But the experience, all in all, I think was definitely different. I always tell people we only went to 4 places basically. That was the airport, of course, the athletes village, the training venue, and the competition venue. Outside of that, we weren't really permitted to go anywhere else. So went to those places. As soon as just to give you an idea of how the experience looked, when we landed in Tokyo, we go inside, we all have to get tested for COVID. And then we're eventually able to leave the airport. So I want to say we landed at like 3:15 in the afternoon, Tokyo time. And given the pandemic and having to go through certain logistics, we didn't leave the airport to head for the village until like 10 o'clock that night.
Oh my gosh.
So
how exhausting.
We were in the airport for nearly 7 hours. Finally get to the athletes village around, say, midnight. Fortunately, the cafeteria in the village is 24/7. So once we landed, we were briefed on our rooms and got our keys and things like that. And we were able to go get some food. And I crashed after that. But, every day that we were there, we had to supply a saliva sample for our COVID testing. So when you wake up in the morning, that was literally the first thing that you do before you brush your teeth, before taking a swig of water, any of those things, you had to provide that sample. And yeah, from there, it was us training on a day-to-day basis, making sure that we were in the best shape, making sure that everything is dialed in for the competition. Then when we competed, the clock, once you were done with competition, the clock started. And what I mean by that is you had to leave to head back home within 48 hours. So again, in prior games, you would have been able to stay the duration of the Paralympics, but given the fact that they wanted to make sure that that environment was safe for everyone, we all had to leave Tokyo 2 days after the competition was over. So that was interesting. And the last thing I'll share is, sure, yeah, we definitely didn't have foreign fans there, which meant that we couldn't have our families. And that was, it was definitely tough. But one of the awesome things was that after the competition was over, there's this area called the mix zone, and that's where you go and talk to all of the reporters and the media. And so Lewis Johnson, who does a lot of commentating for the track and field events, was there. I was able to talk to him, and he gave me an earpiece, and he was like, "I got a surprise for you." So I put the earpiece in, and it's my mom on the opposite opposite end of things, and they were having a huge watch party in Colorado Springs. And so yeah, it was like I was talking to my mom on live television for for the world to hear. So that was a special moment that they made for us in Tokyo.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible. Wow. So, athlete, great son, just a great person. I can argue, just from getting to know you, humble, but yet you've written a book, you're changing lives, you go around, excuse me, and speak across the world. You're an ambassador for products. We'll talk more about that in a minute. And you're still young. You've done so much at such a young age. What made you want to write a book?
I think a lot of it was just really sharing a lot of the things that helped me to get to this point. And since I was always around people who were very, mentorship was huge, and being a positive influence, and understanding that at a certain point in time, like, you're not going to be able to do the things that you used to do. And specifically, let's speak about it in like the athletic context. Like, a few years from now, I probably won't be as fast as what I am. I might not be able to jump as far, but there's going to be some people who come behind you who need some tutelage, and they need some motivation and guidance and advice. And so, I want to be able to help push the narrative, because when you think about it, it's all about elevating the brand as a whole. And I want people to continue to see para-athletes, and I want them to see how amazing these athletes are and all of the incredible things that they're doing in and around the sport. So why not get out there and, help to, help play my part, and really help the next generation.
Wow. Well, you've done some really incredible things. I see some stuff in the chat. Catherine, do you want to chime in? Are there questions before we go to the next section?
There are. Question for Lex. Did you have a teacher of students with visual impairment or an orientation and mobility specialist to teach you Braille and cane skills?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So Mr. Whitmer, who he taught me about the Paralympics. He was actually my teacher of the visually impaired. And I also once I had lost my sight, I was thrust into orientation and mobility. So I probably, from the time I was 19 years old up until I got into college, I was taking orientation and mobility. So it became something that I was involved in for years.
Mm-hmm. The next comment is commenting on the story of your grandmother and the hose. Amazing story, very clever of your grandmother. The next one is, what advice would you give to someone that just wants to jog and not compete?
That's it. That's the advice. Jog. I think that, like, being physically active is very important, and is huge. It definitely has a lot of benefits from a health standpoint. So yeah, if you want to jog, do just that. Get out there and jog. If you want to walk, do just that. Get out there and walk. But whatever it is, just make sure that you try to try to move around a little bit, keep yourself going, keep the muscles moving, the bones moving. Growing up, I think I might have heard this recently where someone was like, oh yeah, you got to keep moving because once you slow down and stop, it's going to be hard to pick it back up and get going again. So, always encouraging people to get out there and to move around, even if it's just just 15, 20 minutes of walking or jogging. Just getting out there and moving around, breaking the sweat a little bit, definitely has some great benefits, and it'll help you to feel amazing too.
So I think that this person may be looking for some more concrete advice, like should they maybe look for a walking track or a jogging track at the local high school, or can they jog through their neighborhood? Do they always have to have a sighted person with them? Anything like that for someone who's just starting out, what would you tell them?
I think that, I guess it also depends on the level of sight that you have. If you are essentially totally blind like myself, then yeah, it'll be useful to have a guide to help you in being able to navigate. You can jog anywhere. You can jog on the track, you can jog on the sidewalk. There's different methods that you can implement into your jogging. If you're out and about just running in public, then having that sighted assistance is going to be huge, so they can help you navigate around certain things. Maybe you do have enough sight to where if you're on a track, you might be able to see the lines a little bit, or you might be able to use landmarks to help you navigate around. So I think it's one of those situations where it just depends on the person.
Absolutely.
And there's certainly resources out there too where you can find guides within the city who can help assist you.
Okay, thank you. Our next commenter says, I can hear the determination and smiles in your voice, Lex.
Oh, say that again, I'm sorry.
She can hear the determination and smiles in your voice.
Oh, I appreciate that.
The next person is asking about e-triking, and I don't know anything about that, so I can't clarify. Do you?
So, say it one more time. Do I know about, what is it called?
E-triking, T-R-I-K-I-N-G.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
So it would be triking with an electronic bike, I would believe. Like electronic biking, using a bike that has, it's electric.
Oh, okay. So like a stationary bicycle, or?
Well, the ones I've seen are not stationary. It's like when you're going up a hill, you can,
oh, okay. Yeah. It's like you can turn like a knob on the handle and it'll,
correct.
Yeah, get you. Yeah. Okay. And the question was, have I ever tried it out?
She's just saying, what about it?
You know what? I actually have a friend who created a company, and that's the product that they sell, are those, electric bikes, if you will. But I don't really have too much experience with them.
Okay. Later, she clarifies it as pedal assist tricycle recumbent. So Kimberly, it sounds like what your son does, only with the electronic motor to help the person.
Absolutely. So if you want to write if you want to write to Lex or myself, we'd be glad to. My son has been injured and uses a recumbent bike, and he works with a lot of people with unique abilities. So feel free to reach out to us, and maybe we can talk offline about that further.
Okay, and Mary's next thing is any assistive technology help. And I think the slide that's up right now may talk about that. So I'm going to hand it back to Kimberly.
Okay, the next slide is tools for success. And The few times that I've talked with Les, the few things that have stuck out in my mind are, the cane. He did a really funny video. You guys, if you're not following Lex on Facebook or basically he's got Instagram, you name it, he's got it. So definitely follow him. But there was, last month there was some awareness about white canes and other things. And Lex did a really funny webinar, or excuse me, a really funny little podcast about that. And he can share more about it. But he talks about his cane and when he doesn't have his cane, that basically, he can't perform and do what he needs to do because he can't see where he's going because he doesn't have sight. He has vision, but not sight. So I put the cane on there. The other thing is a picture of a mind, and then it's an electronic open sign. Lex is all about having an open mind and really getting out there and not saying I can't, but figuring out how you can. And then the next thing below that is a picture of a word that says vision. So I think that those two are the most important things I've heard him talk about, is having an open mind and having vision. And then Braille, he talked about Braille. He learned Braille at a young age. He uses Braille displays. He, does whatever he needs to do. And then I was lucky enough to work with Lex in the beginning, and we have a product called The Voice. And the top picture is our product called The Voice. It's a reader. And he can talk about how he's been using that to access his mail. So he doesn't have to have someone come over and read his mail for him and that type of thing. And I know he uses a Mac computer most of the time. But Lex, why don't you talk about some tools that you use and the tools that I've mentioned and how you interact with those tools?
Yeah, so I use a lot. And when I had lost my sight, technology, that ended up becoming one of my best friends. So I learned how to read Braille, and then I learned how to use different accessible devices like the HumanWare products with the like the Braille notes. And what else? I currently use an iPhone. I use Mac a lot of times. I use Windows as well for a job that I have. Use a Windows machine and use JAWS. What else do I have in here? I use a IRA, which some of you may have heard. It's spelled AIRA. It's an application that you can download on your Apple, on your phone or your Android, and it gives you connection to a human agent, and they can give you feedback, visual feedback around your surroundings. So I use them at times. And Kimberly mentioned The Voice. I had never heard of The Voice actually, and so when you had given me a chance to try it out, I was like, man, this is pretty fantastic. So it's really cool because like the accuracy is absolutely, it's insane. So the Voice has been really cool. Man, what else do I use? Of course, I use my cane. I've used Braille writers in the past. I've used Braille embossers. As it stands right now, I have a Braille display. I have a Focus 40, and I use it a lot for work and doing presentations. So I'm not having to always remember an entire speech. I can write down different notes on the Braille display, and I can refer to those notes when I'm going through the presentation. So that's really, really helpful. And yeah, I mean, technology is, that's the great equalizer, and definitely gives us access to a lot of things that we might not have been able to access previously.
Great. Thank you so much. And yes, I'm really glad that you kind of just talk about all the different tools, and you use a lot of different tools. And, you and I even talked about when we met for dinner about, you said, gosh, maybe I could get some training to learn even to get better at some of these tools, some of the Braille displays and the different things. We talked about PowerPoint presentations, and because you are going around and you're speaking a lot. So that's the great thing, you guys, is there's a lot of technology out there. And, use it. Don't be afraid to learn it. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You know, there might be somebody that's several years ahead of you using those tools. And the voice, again, you want independence. Most people obviously want independence, and the voice lets them read his mail without waiting for somebody to come over. So it's really nice to be able to have that technology. So let's go into kind of finalizing here and getting towards the end. Paris 2024. So how do you get ready for something that's a few years away? And kind of just talk about the process of getting ready for the next Paralympics.
Yeah, so after each games, you get a period of time where you can rest and relax, get yourself together. So we were done the first week in September, and I basically have been on break since then. So I've been consuming all of the French fries, all of the burgers and pizza that I can consume. And probably in the next, I would say in the next couple of weeks, I'm gonna begin to start doing some type of exercise. So I literally I have not done anything at all since we got back from Tokyo, which is absolutely needed. I am going to start moving around here in a couple of weeks in preparation for when we officially start in January. The reason I want to start in a couple of weeks is because I don't want January to hurt as bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and start getting my body into that feeling of soreness again. And in terms of how do you get ready, how do you prepare? I think that you look at the end goal and the destination, where it is that you want to go, and then you work backwards from there. My coach and I will sit down and we'll figure out what our goals are going to be for each season, figuring out how we're going to tackle those things. And then you just, you break it down. So, all right, well, this month we're going to work on building our strength. And the next month we're going to work on increasing power. And then based on those goals, then you link to those goals the specific exercises and activities that you'll need to do to achieve that goal. So it seems like it's a long process, because you think about Paris 2024, which is 3 years away, but as a lot of you are probably aware, time moves, like it goes by so quickly. And I know that these next 3 years are going to go by pretty fast, which is why it's important for us to get out there and to start getting everything in shape, because it'll be here tomorrow. And you want to make sure that you're in the best position to get out there and to get on the podium.
Excellent. And you're going for the gold, man. You're going for the gold.
Oh yeah, always. Every time that I'm out there, always wanting to get on that top step.
So how do we best cheer you on and support you during this time? Because, you know, we want to be your cheering squad. What are some ways we can do that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, definitely following me on all of the different platforms. I'm on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn and TikTok and all of these places where, you know, certainly giving insight into what I'm doing as an athlete, but then also being educational as well, and talking about different tools that I use, or how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I get around, et cetera, et cetera. So really trying to educate others as well. So definitely follow me on those platforms. I have a lot of different pieces of gear and things like that on my site on lexgillette.com. So we have the No Need for Sight when you have a vision shirts, and the drawstring bags, and we have hats, and there's this other really cool thing that I have is called a fly button. And so it kind of puts you in the mind of, I don't have it on my desk right now.
And Lex, I actually have it on the screen, which is really cool. Perfect timing. It's the center part of the screen. So you guys, on the left, I have the cover of his book, Fly, which we're going to be giving away a copy or so of that today. And then we also in the middle has what Lex is talking about. And then there's a picture of Lex at the bottom with a shirt that says fly, and then his website, www.lexgillette.com. So sorry to interrupt, Lex, but that is in the center of this page. So go ahead and talk more about it.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and so where fly comes from is my guy, Wesley, when he's standing at the takeoff board, he's clapping and yelling, fly, 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 as loud as he can. So that lets me know where he's standing, and I have an idea of where I need to navigate, where I need to run. And so I had gotten this idea one day. They have, I think they like Staples, they have that easy button. You hit the top of it, and that was easy. So we took one of the previous competitions that Wesley and I competed in. Someone had like gotten a really good sound bite of him yelling, fly, 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 fly. So we took that and made the fly button. So when you hit the top of it, you'll hear Wesley's voice, fly, 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 fly. And then there's,
cool.
We have like a little inspirational message that comes with it. But those are pretty new. We just came out with those within the past, the past 6 months or so. So it's a really cool product. You can put it on your desk or put it on the counter or the bar or have it in your office. It's really cool. But certainly having your support in that arena, being able to get the Team Lex gear and things like that, that really helps to be able to take care of a lot of the things that we have to take care of as athletes, whether it's airfare, lodging, or nutrition, all of that. That's really important, and that helps us to get to the games. Not only get to the games, but helps us to be put in the best position to get on top of the podium. So all of those things are available on lexgillette.com.
Excellent. So you guys, we will be giving away a few items today, but if for some reason maybe you want to get an extra copy or you don't win today, you can go to www.lexgillette.com and make a purchase. And if for some reason it is out of stock because his stuff does fly off the shelves, let Lex or myself know, and I can get a hold of him if you can't reach him. And he's getting more stuff in, but he's kind of like us with the pandemic. We've got things ordered. That doesn't mean we always get things in as quick as we hope because of the wait period. So yeah, Catherine, I think there's more questions. I was going to go back to you.
Okay, I just wanted to say I just did the giveaways, and the winners for the book, we have 2 books to give away. The first one is Kristen Brown. The second book goes to Alex Driver, and Lynn Fox wins a t-shirt. So Lynn, if you want to go on to Lex's website and let me know which t-shirt and what size. And the other 2 of you, I just need your mailing address so I can send you the books. I do have the books. I ordered them ahead of time. So we will get Kristen and Alex and Lynn their giveaways from Lex's store.
And Catherine, I'm going to go ahead and give a couple more giveaways. I will sponsor that. I meant to get them purchased before I left to go out of town, but go ahead and do a couple more giveaways and I'll let those people choose. And then whatever they choose, I will go online and order myself if I want to donate towards Lex.
I appreciate that a lot.
Absolutely.
That support is huge.
And so I know Catherine's doing a randomizer. So while she does that, I'll go over some webinar information. So you guys, we have several webinars coming up. We do 2 webinars a month. Lex is part of one called Living with Low Vision. We try to host those as often as we can, but we also have informational webinars during the month. So our next webinar is December 8th. And our very own Regina Mitchell, we've had Regina on the show before. She actually is a famous chef and she has cooked for a lot of famous people, and she's went to school at all the fine culinary arts schools. And then she lost her vision. And she thought, like Lex kind of talked about today, she lost her sight, but she didn't ended up getting her vision back, realizing, hey, I just need to adapt and do things differently. And oh, wow, there's all these people that want to learn how to cook that have very limited or no vision, and they've been told they can't. Well, yes, they can. I can help them. So her whole life has changed, and she's going to be talking about cooking for the holidays. So she happens to live here in Las Vegas. That's where I live. And I'll be in her kitchen on December 8th. So we hope you can join us for that. Also, December 14th, getting closer to Christmas, living with low vision at the North Pole. Hint, hint, ho, ho, ho. Probably Santa might be joining us. So, of course, Santa Claus is old, and so he needs to read his naughty and nice list. So he's going to be on there using some low vision technology so he can read the list more clearly. Register for any and all of our webinars at www.lviamerica.com/webinar, www.lviamerica.com/webinar. And we will have this PowerPoint up, and you can click on this and register as well. And then Catherine and I will be getting together soon and talking about January webinars, but we have a brand new product release that we're very excited about that I've spoke to Lex about. It's called ML Air, and we'll be hosting that in January. So make sure you register today, and then that way for sure you'll have the ability to join us for future webinars. We'll go back to Catherine in a second, but the last slide, I wanted to leave it up for just a couple minutes. It is Lex Gillette. And if you want to reach out to Lex, email is info, I-N-F-O, @lexgillette.com. Again, his website is www.lexgillette.com. I'm Kimberly Klein. You can call me, text me, or email me. My phone number is 702-468-6611. Email is kimberly.klein, C-L-I-N-E, @lviamerica.com. Catherine, do we have the other couple winners?
We do. Margarita Sevier and Sarah St. Jean.
Okay, excellent. If you two would either call me, text me, or email me what you would like. If you want to go to his website first and make, you don't have to tell us right now. You can go and look and then just get back to me. Again, Kimberly Klein, 702-468-6611, or kimberly.klein@lviamerica.com. I think we'll come back. Catherine, are there other questions?
There are. One person is asking Lex if he knows Joel Gomez. He was in Tokyo as well.
Yeah, I do know Joel. Yep, he is not too far from. He's kind of in like the north part of the city here. Oh, cool. And yeah, I know Joel.
Cool. Another person is sharing with us that she had a friend who was in Paralympics surfing. This woman has CP, and COVID stopped her being able to go. She was in training in La Jolla, but now she's in Michigan. I can't see them surfing in Michigan. Another person says, "Go Team USA, you got this. I'll be watching. I'm ready. I'm already following on Instagram." Back to Mary, she's saying the hard part is being able to work to afford the Paralympics. That's what my friend had difficulty with in La Jolla.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. We don't have that support, which is why a lot of the athletes are always really trying to garner as much support as possible to really make that dream become a reality.
You guys, another thing that Lex does is he goes and he speaks professionally. So if you have a big event coming up or an event and you'd like to hire Lex to come and speak and give the most incredible motivational speech that I think I've ever heard, please reach out to him at info@lexgillette.com.
So the last question is, have you met Prince Harry? He's a big supporter of the Paralympics.
Say that one more time.
Have you met Prince Harry? He's a big
I haven't. I have not.
Yeah, he is a big supporter of Paralympics. So awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lex. It's such a pleasure to have you on live, to get to share your story and all your amazing adventures, and just your zest for life and for helping others. It's been a real privilege to get to spend the time to meet with you separately to get ready for today's webinar. And again, you guys, I just wholeheartedly recommend you go to his website, spread the word that Lex is out there doing great things, and would love to share his amazing vision and help people gain, you know, the ability to whatever they think they can't do. He can help with helping them get out there and make a vision, make a plan. It's step by step, and they can definitely do that. So thank you for joining us today. We hope that you join us back in December. And if Catherine or I can help you in any way, please let us know. If you're trying to reach out to Catherine, it's Catherine, CATHERINE.Gettel, GETTEL, @LVIAmerica.com. Lex, any closing comments?
You know what? No need for sight. We have a vision. It's not the sight that determines our success. It's our ability to see that vision, to develop that plan, to connect